In some shocking news, it looks like there was an altercation between CM Punk and Jack Perry backstage at All In London that led to both competitors being led out of the building by security. There's a lot to talk about here. This is being investigated. I'm going to tell you everything we know so far. If you haven't already done so, though, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Let's get down to it. CM Punk, Jack Perry, they've been in the news a lot lately. This stems back to an incident that apparently took place back in June where Jack Perry wanted to use glass in a spot that would kind of write him off TV for a little bit when he had some vacation planned. The issue with Punk was that Punk didn't like the fact that Jack Perry was using real glass, and he thought that he was trying to get, quote, I think one of the reports said, quote, kind of get time off and not work the next week. But that didn't seem to be the case since Jack Perry had a vacation plan. But anyway, Punk took exception to it. There were some rumblings that there was more to the story. And then at the pay-per-view, in the pre-show, at the buy-in, or the 0 hour, I should say, Jack Perry wrestled Hook. And at one point, they're on a limo. Jack Perry was looking to throw Hook onto the windshield of the limo, and he knocks on it, camera right in his face, looks dead into the camera, and yells, "Real glass, cry me a river." Which I think the only way anyone can really take that is a kind of a shot at Punk. But, there was, again, we don't know the full story, but the reports indicate, and this was, I believe, first reported from Fightful. This is Sean Ross Sapp, FightfulSelect.com. Go check them out. Says, quote, "Details are few and far between at the moment, but we have learned that Jack Perry and CM Punk had an altercation shortly before CM Punk went into the ring for his AEW All-In match. Jack Perry was on right before him and did a spot on a car window, and he said, 'It's real glass, cry me a river.' This was a shot at Punk, who had a confrontation at an AEW Collision taping over the summer. We've already covered that. Report went on to say that following regarding Punk's side of things, they claim that Jack Perry approached Punk backstage and, quote, stepped in his face, unquote, and, quote, bumped CM Punk. Punk was said to have been pushed by Perry. Perry allegedly, quote, came at Punk and got choked. We've also heard, this is according to the Fightful Select report, we haven't heard of a particular kind of choke or who broke things up, but please note that this is only one side of the story, and that's important to remember here because there are a few different sides. Of course, Miro, the former TNT champion Miro, you might remember him as Rusev in WWE, chimed in. He's a part of the AEW roster. He was backstage, and he quote tweeted the report and said basically that it's not true. It's a lie. However, PW Insider eventually did follow up on this and reported that Jack Perry was sent away from the venue while CM Punk was able to stay at Wembley for about an hour or so. And I believe now this is where all the reporting coming together. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter has also reported and said that CM Punk had a security escort. This was after Jack Perry was escorted out of the building. CM Punk had a security escort back to his locker room, and then about an hour or so after that, he was escorted out of the building and asked to leave. So at the end of the night, both competitors were asked to leave. There was an altercation. Tony Khan, of all people, at the post-show media scrum, acknowledged that there was an incident and that AEW is looking into it. He's not going to comment on it at this time, but there's a lot here. There's also a report going around that Punk was actually the aggressor here and that Punk was the one who threw the first punch and then ended up choking Jack, which isn't a good look if you're CM Punk, because this is now the second time something like this has happened in a calendar year, almost a year to the date of the original Brawl Out. You have what many are now touting as Brawl In, and at some point, you get tired of hearing about this stuff, right? We cover it, I feel like, I have to talk about it. It's such big news. It involves two of my favorite wrestlers, two of the best wrestlers in AEW right now. So I feel compelled to talk about it. But the issue here is that it's not just that like these guys can't get along. No, you don't need to get along with the people you work with, right? We've all worked at jobs where you don't necessarily agree with people's vision for things on a project or whatever. And sometimes you just don't like the people you work with. That's part of the job. Like, that's it. But it just feels like these incidents just tend to happen, man. These incidents tend to happen, and I'm not saying that Jack Perry here, like he took a shot at Punk, like that's obvious. However, the fact that CM Punk has again found himself at this in the middle of all of this, he's found himself in the middle of this drama. He's found himself in the middle of a fight allegedly that took place backstage in London at Wembley Stadium. It's not a good look because just a few weeks ago we were talking about how Punk had said that he didn't want Christopher Daniels on Collision. He wanted him sent away. There was reports that he didn't want Ryan Nemeth backstage. There were reports that he went up to Ryan Nemeth and confronted him and said, "Hey, let's take it outside." Of course, brawl out. I don't need to even go over that again. Like, it just seems like at every turn, right? I'm not saying there are 100% other people who cause problems in any backstage setting, right? But it just seems like, in a lot of these scenarios, he is the common denominator because there's not a lot of people in AEW that we know of that's reported that are getting into as many backstage altercations, backstage fights now, as much as CM Punk. And this isn't me saying AEW needs to fire Punk, but it is me saying that I think AEW management needs to get a grip of the situation. Because what's happening now is, of course, Punk is a star, and you got to hold him to. He's held to a different standard. That's just the reality of it, whether or not we agree, right? But at the same time, Eddie Kingston, he pie-faced Sammy Guevara and started a little bit of an altercation backstage. He was suspended for 2 weeks. This is right before Brawl Out last year. He was suspended for 2 weeks. That canceled their match. Do I think the same thing's going to happen to Punk if one of the sides is reported, if it finds that, like Jungle Boy's side or whoever said that Punk was the aggressor here? Do I think that's going to happen? I don't think so. I think that AEW have kind of made their bed with Punk, and they understand what it is. Like, Collision was built around CM Punk, and as long as Collision is built around Punk, as long as Punk is the main draw of Collision, he's going to be the guy. Like, they're going to have to take his side. Now, I think that if you're facing a situation where you have to choose between Punk and the Elite, like, you have to choose the Elite because there's cumulatively the bigger stars. But it should never come down to that. If you have a problem with one of your coworkers, don't go cut promos on them on national TV or on pay-per-view. Don't go up to him and say, "Let's take it outside." Go to your boss. Go to your supervisor. Go to somebody. Go to talent relations, although I don't know what Punk's status with talent relations is because apparently, according to the report, he didn't want Christopher Daniels backstage. But go to somebody and be like, "Hey, here's my issue. Let's work it out." Or, "Here's my issue. I don't want X, Y, and Z." Like, you can't have this situation where you just have this drama come up and up again. It's annoying. It's annoying. I'm sure y'all agree. I want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think about this in the comment section below? Let me know. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.